Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world, and today we're going to look at rates. So firstly, it's important to know the difference between rates and ratios. So ratios compare two quantities of the same type, whereas rates compare two quantities of a different type. Now, one rate with which you're no doubt familiar will be speed. Speed is a rate because speed compares two different quantities. It compares distance with time. So remember, speed is distance over time. For example, you might be driving in a car and your speed might be 60 kilometers per hour. So we've got a distance measurement and we've also got a time measurement. So that's why it's a rate. It's comparing two different quantities. And rates are written as something per something. You know, water flowing in liters per minute. That would be a rate. If you're talking about petrol, you often see cents per litre, for example. So these are all types of rates. So let's go ahead and look at a few questions that you might need to know. So let's have a look at this example here. So I've run 100 metres, it's taken me 12 seconds, and I want to write it as a rate in metres per second. Now this isn't too hard a question. You can probably do this easily, but I want to show you using fractions because I think this might actually be beneficial for you. So what I'm saying is I've got 100 meters in 12 seconds, and I want to write that as a fraction, something in 1 second. How many meters per 1 second? So just like we did for equivalent fractions and for equivalent ratios, you have to think, what did I do to get from this number to this number here? So I can't add or subtract because fractions don't work like that. I can only multiply or divide. So I go from 12 to 1. We divide by 12. So we've done that to the bottom number, so we must also divide the top number by 12. And so the number that goes in the box is just 100 divided by 12, which is 8.3 recurring, or 8 1/3. So if I run 100 meters in 12 seconds, my speed is 8 1/3 meters per second. Right, let's look at another type of question that you might do. So let's look at this question here. If my heart beats 75 times per minute, how long will it take to beat 1,000 times? Now, even though this time we're given the rate, so 75 times per minute is a rate, it's two different quantities, we're going to solve this the same way. So my heart beats 75 times, I'll just put 75 times in 1 minute, and I want to know how long it will take to beat 1,000 times. So I have 1,000 times, and I want to know how many minutes that's going to be. So we're going to solve it exactly like the one I just did, even though this time we're looking for the number that goes on the bottom. So what you have to do is you have to figure out, what did I do to get from 75 to 1,000? What do you times by? Now you probably don't know this off the top of your head. So what you would put on your calculator is 1,000 divided by 75. Now the answer to that is actually 13 1/3. So I have times by 13 1/3 here. So I need to do the same to the bottom, times by 13 1/3. So that would take 13 1/3 minutes, or 13 minutes and 20 seconds, because a third of a minute is 20 seconds, okay? So if that way is too hard for you, what you could have done is just go 1,000 divided by 75. That works because I told you how many times it beat in 1 minute, but you need to do a different way if I said, it beats 150 times in 2 minutes. So this way with the fractions is a little more complicated, but it will always work if you understand it. So let's just do one more example. So let's try this one. Again, using heart rate, I'm given the rate and I have to use this in the problem, but it's the same that I've done the other two questions. So I already know the rate and I'm going to use that to find a quantity. So I can use fractions. So I can say I beat 80 times in 1 minute. Now, I have to figure out, what do I times by to get from 1 minute to 1 day? So I have to convert days into minutes. So one day is 24 hours and each hour has 60 minutes. So that's 1,440 minutes. So to get from here to here, I've times by 1,440. So I also need to do the same to the top. So I just need to times 80 by 1,440. And the answer I get is 115,200. So that's very, very many times each day. So if you didn't want to use the fractions, that's fine. You could do exactly the same process without them. All you'd have to do is figure out how many minutes there are in a day and then times that by 80 because it's 80 beats per minute. But as I said, the fractions will always work. So please let me know if you have any questions. Other than that, this has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.